Philadelphia, June 1776. Elias Crow learned early that history was not written by the loudest men in the room. It was written by the ones who stayed after the candles burned low, after the arguments dissolved into coughs and silence, after the doors closed and the ink finally touched the page. That was his work. He sat at the narrow table along the east wall of the Pennsylvania State House, back straight, quill balanced lightly between his fingers. The delegates argued again, about wording, about timing, about whether the word independence itself was an act of treason or merely a declaration of fact. Elias did not look up. He listened. John Adams's voice cut sharply through the humid air. Benjamin Franklin murmured something dry, drawing a brief ripple of laughter. Thomas Jefferson remained quiet, fingers stained with ink, eyes distant, as if already arguing with men not yet born. Elias wrote everything down, every vote, every objection, every phrase crossed out and replaced. By nightfall, the document before him was not the same one that had begun the day. It never was. When the final motion adjourned, the delegates rose, stretching stiff backs and gathering papers. Elias waited until the room emptied. Only then did he sand the ink, blot the page, and gather the day's records into his leather folio. The bells outside rang for vespers. History, Elias believed, should always sound louder than it feels. He noticed the first anomaly 2 days later. It was minor, so minor that he nearly dismissed it as fatigue. He was reviewing the minutes from June 24, copying them into the official ledger. He remembered the debate clearly, a narrow vote concerning colonial trade restrictions, resolved only after a late objection from a South Carolina delegate whose name Elias could still hear spoken aloud in his mind. Yet the objection was not there. The page flowed cleanly from argument to conclusion, no interruption, no dissent. Elias frowned, turned back to his folio copy. Same result. He checked the loose drafts. Same. The words were absent, not because they had been erased, but because they had never been written. Elias sat back slowly. Clerks lived by certainty. Ink did not lie. Paper did not forget. Men did. He told himself that was all it was. The second anomaly did not allow for such comfort. On the night of June 28, Elias stayed late, copying Jefferson's latest revisions to the draft declaration. The room was quiet except for the soft scratch of his pen and the distant rumble of wagons on Chestnut Street. Halfway down the page, he paused. A sentence had changed. Not been improved, not been clarified, changed. The phrasing now argued inevitability rather than justification. The tone was colder, sharper, as if the document were no longer persuading the world, but instructing it. Elias compared it to Jefferson's handwritten draft lying open beside him. The words did not match. His breath slowed. Carefully, he flipped through earlier copies, then earlier still, all identical to the new version, except for the memory in his mind, stubborn and unyielding. He stood abruptly, chair scraping the floor. "Mr. Jefferson?" Elias called, though he knew the answer. The room answered with silence. When Elias returned the next morning, Jefferson read the passage aloud and nodded in satisfaction. "Yes," Jefferson said, "that is how I always intended it." Elias said nothing. By July, the city hummed with anticipation and fear in equal measure. British troops gathered, loyalists whispered, printers worked through the night. Every word mattered now. That was when Elias discovered his name missing. It was not dramatic. There was no gasp, no sudden chill, only a quiet absence where certainty had once lived. He was filing correspondence when he noticed the clerk roster pinned to the wall. It listed assistants, scribes, runners. Elias's eyes traced the names out of habit. He did not see his own. He checked twice, then a third time. A new clerk, unfamiliar, worked nearby. Elias approached him. "Excuse me," Elias said evenly. "Who compiled the roster?" The clerk glanced up. "I did, sir." Elias tapped the page. "My name is absent." The clerk frowned, confused. "I don't believe you're listed here." "I have been here since last winter." The clerk hesitated. "Sir, how long have you been assigned to Congress?" Elias felt something tighten behind his ribs. "I always have been." The clerk looked away, uncomfortable. "You should speak to Mr. Thompson." Charles Thompson, Secretary of Congress, listened politely, but with growing concern. "There is no record of your appointment," Thompson said gently. "No oath, no entry." Elias produced his folio. His handwriting filled every page. Thompson examined it, impressed and uneasy. "This proves you have worked," Thompson admitted, "but not that you were meant to." The phrase lingered between them. Meant to. That evening, Elias did not return to his lodging. Instead, he walked the length of the city, passing taverns alive with debate and alleys thick with shadow. He felt oddly detached, as though observing a world already moving past him. At a small print shop near Market Street, he stopped. Inside, a young woman fed paper into a press with practiced speed. Fresh broadsides hung to dry, ink gleaming black. Elias watched her read one before stacking it. She frowned. "That's not right," she muttered. Elias stepped forward. "What is not?" She hesitated, then handed it to him. The words called for independence, but the final paragraph spoke of sacrifice not yet demanded, of blood not yet spilled, of a winter not yet suffered. Valley Forge, unnamed, but unmistakable. Elias's pulse quickened. "This was not in the copy," the woman said. "I said it myself." "Your name?" Elias asked. "Agail Turner." Elias nodded. "Do you remember where you got the words?" She shook her head slowly. "I remember setting them. I don't remember reading them first." They looked at each other, the press ticking softly between them. Outside, the bells rang again. That night, Elias returned to the State House. He unlocked the records room and lit a single candle. From the shelves, he pulled the earliest minutes of Congress, the fragile beginnings of rebellion. Page by page, he read. He found references to debates that never happened, votes that should have failed but passed, decisions made without argument, and, threaded through it all, like a shadow behind the text, as if events were not chosen, as if they were corrected. Elias closed the ledger. For the first time, he understood the true danger, not that the revolution might fail, but that it could not be allowed to succeed in any other way. Somewhere, history